on today's wrestling news, Brock Lesnar is not returning to WWE.
Triple H on failing to sign Will Ospreay.
Could Joe Hendry do Eurovision next year?
And the Bella Twins' mother, Kathy Coles, divorces John Laurinaitis.
I'm Adam Wilborn.
I'm Michael Hamflett.
And this is the news. So one obvious place to start, all the talk yesterday was around Brock Lesnar potentially returning to WWE. There was loads of speculation on this, reports from the likes of Bill Apter, WrestleVotes tweeting about it as well. But Fightful Select have come through, killing that rumour, basically saying that that is not going to happen, saying that they'd spoken to someone high up in the company of WWE, saying that there are no creative plans in place for Brock Lesnar. If conversations have occurred, we've not been briefed on that. Obviously, Lesnar was referenced in the lawsuit against WWE and Vince McMahon. He's been on the sidelines ever since. You may remember, of course, he was scheduled to be involved in the Rumble, and that was going to set up a storyline with him and Gunther. That obviously was just completely cancelled. They also, WWE went to great expense to get rid of him in 2K, and his merch was ordered to be listed at reduced rates. Also, Fightful Select, interestingly reporting, Lesnar is among a couple of names that are not to be mentioned on WWE, not to be brought up in video packages, mentioned on promos, or referenced by commentary if it could be avoided. Obviously, one of the reasons why Brock Lesnar's return was maybe suggested was the allusion to it by Cody Rhodes when he was doing his back and forth with Gunther on Monday Night Raw, but that was not a clue apparently to him making a comeback or anything like that. Everyone within WWE saying no, he's still persona non grata within their world. And obviously the last time we saw him was that match at SummerSlam 2023, losing to Cody Rhodes to complete their trilogy.
What is, I guess, like, this is not just a Brock Lesnar question, but what is WWE at this point? If they are, on one hand, trying to move on and suggest that there's this brand new era, and even I would say the Netflix documentary could be used as this like dividing line that we're trying to create, but WrestleMania 40 certainly was. Like, so many of their creative changes have overlapped to like this idea that there's a big cultural shift, and that the new era is not just a new creative one, but in fact a post Vince McMahon world. What is that if then you kind of welcome back and promote Brock Lesnar with open arms? They are going to make countless other mistakes. Triple H is going to have several more bad nights at press conferences, I can tell you that, where he fails to arrest concerns and suspicions that there haven't really been that many changes behind the scenes culturally at all. But Brock Lesnar is a pretty out front one. Obviously the lawsuit is against, and this probably still doesn't come up enough, I don't think, the lawsuit is against, as you pointed out, Vince McMahon and WWE, and indeed John Laurinaitis, which we'll get to later on.
Netflix didn't shy away from referencing Brock Lesnar in the documentary, of course.
But WWE as a company themselves are still involved in this. So they've got that to deal with as long as this lawsuit goes. There's been no response yet to, I think it was Ann Callis's request, wasn't it, for the release of the NDAs, which again would have been a way publicly. They could have again tried to disassociate themselves. So then just think to, this sounds maybe cold and brutal, but even from an optics point of view, to then sort of roll out the red carpet for a Brock Lesnar return seems in total contrast to that. Away from all of that, strictly speaking as a fan, is there a call for Brock Lesnar at the moment? We are in an era removed from a time where Brock Lesnar used to be a guy that they would like hit almost as like a red button.
Yeah, in case of emergency. Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. Like, have we ever been further away in the last sort of 20 years from a need for... I'm not saying that's necessarily the biggest part of the story.
No, I agree
I'm
with
simply
you.
saying, is this a WWE landscape that particularly requires Brock Lesnar's supposed star power at this point when, numbers started to dip for his returns and from a brutal business and creative point of view, is there a call for Lesnar on television right now? I would say no.
No, exactly. I think obviously when the speculation was around for him and Gunther, people got very excited for that.
But there are big matches, don't get me wrong.
There are many other options you could do with Gunther, and arguably Gunther fills that spot of like unbeatable beast, as was referenced by Cody Rhodes. I don't think necessarily WWE even needs him right now. I mean, look at the business for them. It's not like, what are we going to do to shift tickets for this show or whatever. They're just doing great guns all over the place. So I think there's no need for it, and it would only generate negative headlines outside of the sort of WWE stan accounts of, isn't it great to see Brock Lesnar back? Let's not try and reference anything else that's previously happened. So, I've got no clamour to see Brock Lesnar back in a WWE ring anytime soon, and I think this is the right call within WWE.
It'll happen.
It will happen eventually. All these things, it's the age-old thing of like, well, once that has died down, we'll kind of bring so-and-so back in. But like, obviously Cody doesn't need it right now. Gunther, like I say, it'd be a phenomenal matchup to see, but Gunther doesn't need it right now. You could arguably book both of those all the way through to WrestleMania and beyond with other people that they've got in the company without even bringing in a Goldberg, for example. So yeah, I think this is the right call.
Speaking of other people who aren't in WWE, Will Ospreay, of course, was subject to whether or not it was a bidding war, or at least obviously his name was available to be signed when he first signed with AEW, and there was initially a little bit of needle seemingly thrown out by Triple H around WrestleMania weekend when he said that he didn't name Ospreay, but he used the phrase wrestlers that aren't ready for the grind, that sort of thing. Will Ospreay certainly thought he was talking about Will Ospreay because he went out there on Dynamite and basically shot right back at the game, and then it kind of all went quiet after that. But there has been a bit of follow-up now. This is thanks to our friend Ibu at WrestlePurist. I think it was on their Raw review. Check out WrestlePurist work. It's one of the best wrestling podcasts out there.
Yeah, theirs got invaded by MJF recently, didn't it?
Yeah. Who also I think is a fan of the WhatCulture Wrestling podcast, from what I recall. But yeah, great work as usual from Ibu on this one. And a hat tip to Cultaholic for aggregating what we're now also about to aggregate in this grubby little world. But yeah, on the podcast, Ibu said in relation to Triple H, he thinks Will Ospreay is a tremendous wrestler and he's salty that he didn't get him. The grind comments back at the time was just him venting. He wanted Will, he knows how great Will is, and he didn't get him, and he was really upset about it. I spoke to someone in WWE at the time and was like, well, why didn't they pay him more? And I was told it wasn't Hunter's call how much money he was going to be offered and that his hands were tied that way. So this was, again, part of the conversation at the time, that money was obviously going to be getting thrown around for someone like Will Ospreay, and rightfully so as well. And AEW won that bidding war, won that financial war, as well as whatever else they could offer Will Ospreay. Presumably Wembley was certainly a nice carrot to dangle as well, as for a second year in a row. So yeah, it's like, this is the sort of stuff we suspected, but nice to hear it, if not directly out of Triple H's mouth, out of somebody who's close enough to somebody to get that kind of information.
Yeah, you sensed it was the jilted boy. I never fancied her anyway, so not bothered. WWE would love to have Will Ospreay, and I think they'd do phenomenal things with him, of course. But look at what he's done in AEW. Not quite won the world title just yet, but you feel like that's going to be on the cards in the next year or so, obviously, for Will. He's so talented. It probably is the right call, all in all. Not just Will getting paid what he deserves to get paid. Even if WWE had matched that, it's one of the things of like that upper tippy top level is kind of stacked within WWE right now. It feels like Will Ospreay is someone that could easily elevate himself into a world title picture tomorrow. He's obviously kind of busy with everything else going on with the Don Callis family right now, whereas you look, even when we talk about Punk, you're like, Punk's kind of behind Cody and Roman really right now, in terms of the top stars. So I think long term, you could well see Will Ospreay in WWE, obviously, 100%. Especially this version of WWE. 5 years ago, it would have been a no-brainer for Will.
I think if anything at the moment, him signing for WWE would have been an optics win more than anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
The idea that they've somehow...
And they've won a few of these wars already, haven't they? And they've got people to jump out. So it's back and forth, but I think it's a great get for AEW, and I love what they're doing with him.
It's interesting as well, because at the time, I seem to recall the three in conversation were Ospreay, Okada, and Mercedes Moné. AEW got all three, and it's curious here that obviously Triple H not necessarily having control over how much he would pay when all three, sounded like financials were a big part of why they made the call.
Was it Swerve as well that was mentioned when it was like WWE wanted him, but they were just like, we can't hit that. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sure Triple H would love to just write blank checks for some people as well, but he's got to answer to TKO, Endeavour, whatever you want to call it, and they're kind of notoriously quite kind of tight with the purse strings, unless it's someone.
It makes this kind of like this sort of stuff more interesting for me. Like, it makes the bidding wars all the more interesting because, again, we always talk about this. Wrestlers are going to be out there now knowing that there are two billionaires trying to tip upside down for this contract.
They've both got basically unlimited contracts, both of them.
They'll get paid.
Yeah, good for them. And excited to see what happens next with a Will Ospreay. Damn you, Carl Fletcher.
Yeah.
They were mates in WCPW.
Doesn't owe us an explanation, Wilborn. Yeah. I mean, other than the stories that they kind of told in the way to like it.
But best luck to Will Ospreay in AEW. He's going to be world champion by this time next year, isn't he?
If not this time next year, I think he probably already has the date circled on the calendar when it is he's going to be champion. It seems that assured, doesn't it?
There's no way they do more London shows without him.
Oh God, yeah, Wembley 2026.
Yeah, that's a
Feels
long way
short.
off though.
Either bring him in as champion or winning it for the first time.
Yeah,
he's
what a
going to be
moment that
all
would
right.
be.
Yeah.
Right, switching from one former WCPW star to another.
Nice.
Let's talk Joe Hendry. Rather good year for him, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Breaking the charts, breaking Taylor Swift fans' hearts, and doing great stuff across TNA and WWE. Obviously, lots of fanfare around his appearances in WWE. And then there was that tweet the other day where someone said, "Oh, what was it they said in the end? Kind of crazy how fast Joe Hendry fell off the radar. He just went back to TNA. He's fighting for the world title against Nick Nemeth soon."
Yeah.
And he replied, "Kind of crazy how poorly that tweet will age in about 4 months." People looked at that and went, "Oh, so he's in the Rumble then."
Yeah.
But it may not be about that. Like I say, he's fighting for the world title as well. He could be world champion very soon. But also, he has announced something that, for someone like me especially, is just incredible.
This is the Venn diagram of things that matter to you.
I saw this about 10 minutes after he dropped that tweet and I immediately replied because I was so excited about this. And this is going to be baffling for, I'd say, at least 50% of our viewership. But Joe Hendry tweeting, "It's official, as I confirmed on BBC Radio Scotland.
Nice.
About 4 months from now, we will submit I Believe in Joe Hendry Eurovision remix in good time for the March deadline. No matter the outcome, this will be fun." Right, how far back do I have to go on this? So, the way this works...
That's what you can say. I was born and I fell in love with a little singing competition.
ABBA, so Eurovision is it's the Eurovision Song Contest. It's a really weird, bonkers little competition that goes down in sort of like May time.
Yeah.
I always remember it because it's when Chesterfield lost the playoff final. But doesn't matter, win the league next season, not bothered. But yeah, all the countries in Europe and Australia for some reason enter songs, and then there's a really weird judging process, and usually someone like Sweden wins it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the best song.
No.
And the UK usually gets absolutely trounced in it for political reasons or other things like that.
Yeah.
And just having crap entrants for a while, to be honest.
There's a lot of, kind of like wrestling adjacent staging to the Eurovision Song Contest.
It is awesome, yeah.
How it looks and how it can, like, there are a lot of different ways to skin this particular cat and how you go about winning it.
But yeah, it's not like he's going up against Latvian Adele or something like that.
That's it, yeah.
It's not how it works.
And he's beaten American Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
So...
Shout out to Sam Ryder, who was a brilliant entrant of ours, who basically we came second to Ukraine that year. That's why we hosted it the year after.
Was he the spaceman?
Yeah, he's awesome. But Joe Hendry, in my book, could win Eurovision, to be perfectly honest with you, especially with a song like I Believe in Joe Hendry. He's been going into sort
There's
of
a
more...
public vote in the Eurovision element
Yes,
as well. So
yeah, exactly. It's like a judging panel, but basically, as long as you do all right on that, you can just dominate if you have Lordi, do you remember them? The sort of like monster rock thing. It could be the weird entries win, sometimes they're just good singers win, and sometimes it's just like, you haven't won in a while, so just give it you. But the way Joe Hendry has just dominated the internet this year, something like this could really do it. Now, he will have to go up against other UK entrants as well and be selected for that.
Yes.
But considering some of the people we've picked in the past, Joe Hendry should walk it. He's got my vote, that's for damn sure. It's really weird, but it also sort of works. So regardless of whether or not he's in the Rumble, Joe Hendry's going to have a massive 2025.
Did you say that news was broken through BBC Radio Scotland?
Yes.
Do you know what? I imagine BBC Radio Scotland would probably also announce, given enough forward notice.
What's that?
The birthday of one Andy H. Murray.
Yes!
Happy birthday today, Murray.
Happy birthday, mate.
Enjoy whatever it is you're up to. Don't know why you wouldn't want to spend it in the studio with us, but have a good one nonetheless, and we'll see if we can get a message read out on Radio Scotland by the time you watch the video. Or at least, I don't know, Gallus to do something nice for us.
Happy birthday to Andy. Send him loads of lovely
send him
tweets
loads of messages.
At Andy H. Murray, where you can also order some cameos from him.
Indeed you can. Order a cameo for his birthday. Leave a nice message in the comment, which I'm sure we'll read and catch up on. And let us know what your favourite Eurovision Song Contest entry is over the last, 50 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Lot to choose from. There was good music in there once upon a time.
Yeah.
It was credible for
ABBA was the goats, obviously.
It's credible for a bit, isn't it? Yeah.
It's just weird, but yeah, if you want to have some fun today, just look at some old Eurovision entries and then go, yeah, Joe Hendry really fit in there.
Yeah. We're going to have to switch gears. We're ending on sort of not good news. I don't know what this is really, but basically, obviously, as we talked before about the sex trafficking lawsuit against WWE, Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis, now comes the news that I guess is like not really that surprising, but there has been confirmation that John Laurinaitis' now ex-wife, Kathy Collace, is filing for divorce. This is, of course, the mother of Nikki and Brie Garcia, formerly Nikki and Brie Bella. And this came through on their podcast. Brie Garcia noted that this last year has, of course, been really hard on the family. There are, of course, things going on in Nikki's personal life currently at the moment as well. And then asked if her mother, who was on the podcast, if she could have permission to announce the divorce. Is it fine to tell everyone you're divorced, she said. She's not single and ready to mingle by any means. She is, I feel like, enjoying independent time. People are curious to know where you're at. And Kathy, who was on the podcast, responded saying, I will tell you how the experience is from someone that goes through it. You need time, you need silence, and this is for anyone. We all have our stories and we all have our challenges. My thought is, let yourself feel every emotion. One day life is fine, and the next day you're hit with something that just rocks your world. You actually feel a paralysis to yourself. She goes into a bit more detail as well. With some quite pointed remarks about like the response that you get from some people on social media and how it's worth like trying to block out that noise. You know, there's people offering advice and good stuff, but it isn't necessarily all that, of course, as well we know. So yeah, this is more just like another, I guess, detail from some of the people also impacted by this since the lawsuit was first filed. Against McMahon, Laurinaitis and WWE. Laurinaitis was kind of last in the public space regarding this case, if you remember, flip-flopping.
Yeah.
There was at first a legal statement that put out that involved phrases suggesting that he too had felt like he'd been part of coercement from Vince McMahon. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, please fact check this, that like some of that was walked back and he would in fact join the legal team, or sort of like sort of share some sort of legal representation on the side of Vince McMahon and WWE. He didn't feature by name in the Netflix documentary at all.
No.
And in fact, there was only one brief image. I seem to recall that you could even see his
like
face.
Was
Kevin Owens maybe going through Gorilla or something. So yeah, he was, whether or not by accident or design, but he was kind of kept out of it, which was notable. We did do kind of like cover everything that documentary covered on a video, which you can still watch on our channel, and for the most part they do address everything, and yet his omission was curious. But yes, Kathy Collace, mother of the Bella twins, the Garcia twins, divorcing John Laurinaitis.
Yeah, I'm not going to speculate too much on this. Obviously, it's never nice when you hear people getting divorced, but completely understandable in this set of circumstances. Right, we'll leave it there. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And while you're at it, why not check out this video right here. We'll see you soon.